Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where you tune in to get all your new horror news, and we review a new movie each week. Also, this is the podcast where Derek changes clothes because of his fear of being a wife beater. So,
it's true. Sometimes I get close to that edge. I just don't ever jump off.
Good Lord.
Thank goodness.
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm okay.
Okay, only.
Yep. Just okay.
We're getting into the Halloween spirit. By the time this airs, it'll be October. The spookies are out. We are very close to going and seeing Halloween Kills.
Yeah, we need to set that date.
Yes, we will. I have the date. It's the 16th of October. That's where we're going.
We need to figure out which theater we're going to go to.
Yep. Yeah, we need to plot that out. That way we're ready to go. So, guys, I have a crap ton of horror news today.
Oh, good.
This is a day where we had quite a bit. Some of it bigger news, some of it smaller news, but it's here nonetheless. We'll start with this one. So Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa are starring in a new horror comedy called Black Friday that comes out in November of 2021. The plot is on the busiest shopping night of the year, a group of disgruntled toy store employees must defend themselves from legions of holiday shoppers when a mysterious alien parasite turns them into monstrous creatures hell-bent on a murderous rampage.
Sign me up for that.
So yeah. Bruce Campbell is playing the deadly store manager.
That's the perfect role for him.
Yeah. You guys excited for this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce is the man.
Yeah,
anything Bruce.
Anything Bruce.
I wish we could have went to Bruce Fest. Next year, we will all try to go to Bruce Fest.
Totally next year.
Yeah. Bruce Fest, if you don't know, is a Bruce Campbell festival that's being hosted at the Stanley Hotel. And you get to do VIP meetings, whodunit murder mystery party, and you screen Bruce Campbell movies, and he provides commentary. Sounds like the greatest fucking time of all.
Now wait, is this a annual thing?
Well, this is the first one, so if it does well, I'm hoping it will be an annual thing.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we would definitely go one year, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure. We'd have to.
Yeah.
How could you not?
No, we'd save up, we'd go, and we would broadcast live from Bruce Fest. We'd go live, do a little bit of live. You're like, hey, we're here, guys.
We'll do it live.
We'll do
it. We're
Idiots. We're going.
We're just going to go crash it.
Wedding crasher style. Except instead of like trying to hook up with women, we go and try to just get FaceTime with Bruce Campbell.
Hey, Bruce, can you sign my face?
Talk to me, Bruce.
I'd be like Jack Black in Tropic Thunder. You get my drift.
God, dude. All right, this is another new news. So, have you guys have seen Never Hike Alone? Yes or no? The Friday the 13th fan film.
No, I think that's the one you told me about, right?
The first one, yeah, the first one from a few years back. Great, it's a great fan film.
Man, I think I saw the winter one.
Oh, that's the prequel, Never Hike in the Snow. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Also very good. So it's been announced that they're going to try to kickstart a feature for the sequel. So they are going to launch in March of next year. So they're going to try to kickstart a feature-length sequel to Never Hike Alone.
So where does that start to infringe on copyright.
So if
Not
they
that either one of us are lawyers, but
so if they don't sell the movie, so if they don't make money off the movie and they distribute it for free essentially, then you can make fan films. It's not illegal to make fan films if you don't profit off of said fan film.
so if hypothetically speaking, if they have a Kickstarter and people give money to them for this, they pay people. Let's say they pay themselves. So
I would say it would depend. I guess it would if the Kickstarter was in the realm of making the actual movie and not profit margins, then they probably would be okay.
Well, I got a Superman movie we should make.
Well, good luck with that budget. That's a way bigger budget. I mean, maybe we should do a remake of this movie that we're going to do tonight. We'll kickstart
You know what?
that.
That's probably more in our wheelhouse, and I would be totally game for that.
Yeah, definitely. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, since we're not getting an official Friday the 13th movie anytime soon, do you think this is a good placeholder?
Yes. I personally do.
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like, we should do that with more movies, I feel like, probably.
Oh, yeah, we should definitely start kickstartering our movies. So that way we don't have to pay for them out of pocket.
Yeah, so one thing that I would...
Which would be the next one?
I would venture to say that if that actually became a thing, now you'd have a spectrum of like where movies would fall. But because you wouldn't have the involvement from the studio who tried to control you, you'd probably get some really cool and amazing films. I think it's an interesting idea. You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like for sure that, I mean, the next project that we do, which we already know, we're definitely going to kickstart that. I mean, it's going to have some back. It's going to need some backing.
Yeah.
It's a bigger project than the last several. So more information on that coming soon after we finish work on the one we are doing now. We have all that post-production work to do, Derek.
That's where the fun is.
Well, it is.
It is
where the fun is. So this is new, guys. Showtime has officially ordered to series a TV series version of Let the Right One In.
Ooh.
Doesn't give us much information except that the series centers on Mark and his daughter, Eleanor, whose lives were changed forever 10 years earlier when she was turned into a vampire. Locked in at age 12, perhaps forever, Eleanor lives a closed-in life, able to go out only at night while her father does his best to provide her with the human blood she needs to stay alive. What do you guys think of that concept?
I could probably get into that. I really liked both of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a novel?
I don't know if it was a novel. I know, about both movies, obviously, the original and then the American remake. And I thought both were fine.
Yes. So yeah, I could definitely get into that.
I think so too. Derek.
Yeah, I think it. I like when they do miniseries or series because it gives you a lot more context and depth to the characters and the story. Sometimes you really can't convey that in a hour and a half or 2 hour window. So
no,
sounds good.
Yeah, I'm on board. Okay, this next bit. Oh, I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about this. Just remember to breathe when I tell you this. Okay, you ready?
Oh man.
Warner Brothers is making a new Lost Boys movie. Basically a remake of the Lost Boys. Let's see, what do we know about it? Basically, all we know is that they're fast-tracking the new Lost Boys movies and have already set It star Jaden Martell and A Quiet Place's Noah Jupe as the leads. Randy McKinnon, who's writing WB's Static Shock movie, is pinning the screenplay while Jonathan Erstweiler is set to direct. What are your thoughts on a Lost Boys remake?
I'm skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the first one, like the first Lost Boys was, I mean, it's a classic movie.
Yes.
The sequels
Are terrible. Yeah, they're
not
pretty
so
bad.
much. That being said, I don't understand why you would want to tread on a property like that. I would just come up with a new title.
Well,
Unless they're just going to go completely off of the original storyline.
Well, then you wouldn't get the brand name recognition. I understand why it's called Lost Boys, but that's not to say there's not more to say with Lost Boys. There definitely is.
That is true. Yeah. Now, if they, but it sounds like you said a reboot.
Kind of, yeah. That's what it sounds like it's going to be.
Yeah. So I would imagine. I mean, Corey Feldman is still around, and so he could potentially do more with that as one of the original members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. I'm
The
skeptical.
Lost Boys. Here's the thing with Lost Boys, though, for me. I think Lost Boys is a time capsule for its time. I think it's a movie that was made in the '80s and kind of belongs in the '80s. Like it's just
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect blend. Like it's horror and humor and that teen '80s style, and it's all kind of blended into this package that cohesively works. It's just a very cohesive package. And you have that like shirtless guy playing the sax.
I mean, that's priceless right there.
Here he is, right here.
Yeah. Also, Kiefer Sutherland is still around, obviously. So.
Yes. But his
although he died
dead.
in that movie.
Yeah, his character is dead.
I've seen weirder things happen with resurrections. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, Freddy was bought. Well, we'll talk about when Freddy was brought back via dog when we get to that movie. Okay, this is interesting. So you guys know that they're making a Last of Us TV series, right?
Yes. That's been in the works for a while, right?
It's been in the works for a while. We know that Pedro Pascal is playing Joel, and Bella Ramsey is playing Ellie. The new news is that Neil Druckmann, who directed the video game, will direct episodes of the TV series. What do you guys think of that?
That's how it should be.
Well, I mean, he already did it. He directed The Last of Us.
Exactly. So he's going to know the vision that they, of how that should probably look.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I'm glad that they're doing that.
Are you guys excited about The Last of Us TV series?
Yeah, it's a great game.
Mm.
I could never get past. There's one specific part. I could never get past it, but it's still a really intense and fun game.
Lydia, have you played The Last of Us or seen anything of it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to play it sometime. It's a really great story. It's a great game. So that popped up. This is a rumor, guys. And well, not necessarily a rumor. It's confirmed, but this is big news, I guess, if you want to call it that. Kevin Bacon is going to star in and produce a new horror movie for Blumhouse.
Ooh.
Star in and produce.
It's called Whistler Camp.
Hmm.
Let's see what the movie is about. I guess that's what it was formerly known as. It is John Logan's directorial debut. Let's see, where is it? Do we know anything about it? I don't think we know much about it, except that he's starring in it and producing it. I mean, are you excited to see a new Kevin Bacon horror movie?
Definitely.
He was in one. It was like suspense horror. He was in one not too long ago.
Yes, I don't remember the name of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made a couple of really great horror movies.
Yeah. One's going to end up on this list pretty soon. Now that you remind me of that.
Story of Echoes.
That's the one.
Is a solid, very solid horror movie.
I love that.
Tremors,
movie.
which we will get to eventually. Trust me. We'll get to the first Tremors. Friday the 13th, of course, which we already done. Go check out our Screen Bloody Fridays special for that. And, Hollow Man is the other one I could think of, which is a Paul Verhoeven movie.
Yeah.
Which we might get into eventually, because it's an interesting movie, Hollow Man.
Mm.
What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I just want me and Jake had Invisible movie marathon. So we watched the new Invisible Man, the old Invisible Man, and then we watched Hollow Man.
Oh, did you? So you just watched Hollow Man?
It was like invisible all day.
Yeah. You couldn't see a damn thing.
Yeah.
Which one did you like the most?
Ooh, I really, really love the original Invisible Man.
Yeah, the Claude Rains one is pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty.
I
excellent.
just have a soft spot for that one.
Well, yeah, and he also looks awesome.
Yes.
I mean, when you can see.
I was gonna say. Wow.
Even when you can't see him, he looks awesome.
Yeah, he does. He's some old school magic tricks. We'll have to do that one soon. That's a good one. We might be getting into a Universal monster movie here in the next couple weeks. Who knows? We do know. Which one shall it be? All right, and we'll end with this little nugget. It's the smallest one of the stories, but it's one that we, of course, will love. Derek. Danielle Harris is starring in the new horror movie, which she's also producing. It is called Flesh, and a deranged individual who wants to sacrifice human flesh to a malevolent spirit. That's the synopsis we have. What do you think of that?
I watch it.
Well, yeah, of course we'll watch it. Has
Yeah,
Danielle Harris in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rare that we're just like, no, I wouldn't watch that.
Yeah, I mean,
Like when
except
somebody's
for-
like, hey, what about this horror movie? We're like, yes, I will watch horror
We are
movies.
very open.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why this podcast exists.
I think the only one that we've ever questioned is Baby Oopsie.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. You guys will be seeing that trailer reaction here soon as well.
It's going to be a lot of.
The only other one we questioned was when we found out they were doing a new Pet Sematary after we just did the remake, and we were like,
Oh, yeah. And we gave them some really great suggestions. Hopefully they listen to this podcast.
yeah, they probably didn't listen to a single one of our suggestions. And
And
instead,
that's why
it's
not
going
gonna do very
to
good.
it's going to be a sequel to the remake. Actually, I think the news that we have now is that it's a prequel set during Judd's childhood or his younger years.
Yep,
Which could
it's
be
gonna
interesting.
flop. It's gonna suck.
Boo!
Man, we broke the story for them pretty much
I know.
of the direction they should go.
We're doing it for free, even.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
It's
do?
like how, I mean, it's not even like it's that hard to come up with. It's like, just think about it and just do that instead of what you're doing.
Yeah, you have an abandoned farmhouse that a new family moves into, and you have older Ellie
Yes. We
Yeah.
have to make that happen.
who
Yeah.
is a
We should
doctor
do
in the town. She followed in her father's footsteps.
a fan version of that.
Yes, our
I'm-
fan film. Let's do
Right
it.
Pet Cemetery, the
I'm
real
so
version. We'll say it'll be called You remember how in the 80s there were, the Ghostbusters existed, obviously. And then there was a show from the 60s that was terrible called The Ghostbusters. So they were trying to sneak their name in. So that's why the 80s cartoon is called The Real Ghostbusters.
Oh.
It's so that way, because they put out a shitty cartoon of that old Ghostbusters. And they're like, no, we're the real Ghostbusters.
I thought it was gonna be like the bulk type situation.
No. So that's why we will call this one The Real Pet Cemetery 2.
The real
Love
Pet
it.
Cemetery sequel that everyone should have watched in the first place.
Yeah, we'll parenthesize it.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Or
that
How I
everyone
Learned to Stop
deserves.
Worrying and Love the Bomb. All right, guys. So now that we got the horror news out of the way, it's time to dig into tonight's feature presentation, which is the 1988 film Night O' the Demons. It's the Irish version of it.
Ah.
So we'll dive right in. The movie opens with an incredible title sequence. I'm just going to say it. A great
Yeah.
title sequence. We get this fun little spooky music and this fun animated haunted house style intro. What'd you think of that, Derek?
Oh, it was amazing. If they would have stopped right there, it would have been a perfect 10. No, I love the opening sequence of this. It's fantastic.
The theme song is really good. It's really
the theme song.
vigid. Yeah.
I love the animation. Like there's
The spooky
it's
vibes.
great. Yeah.
Lydia,
Great.
what do you think of the opening?
I thought it was pretty good. I always love that artsy, like where it's like hand drawn, kind of like just art on there. Plus, the music brings it all together.
Yeah, it just sets up like a good haunted house fun vibe. So I feel like if you watch the opening, you're like, oh, okay, so this is the kind of movie I should expect. Like, I shouldn't expect Citizen Kane. I should expect a fun, goofy, scary movie, which is what we get. I mean, it knows what it is, and it does what it said it would. So it doesn't lie about that. So we immediately kick into our first scene is we're introduced to the coolest, most classy guy ever written, Stooge, wearing a pig nose, hanging around with his girl and their buddy. And they're rocking some 80s rock, digging them, listening to the rock, and then Stooge decides to moon this old man that's driving down the road after he decides to call his girlfriend a bitch about 5 times. First thoughts, what are your thoughts on Stooge from just this first scene?
Love the pig nose.
And his haircut as well.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
his haircut
a haircut.
is
I was
there's not
thinking
even
about,
a
like,
business in the front. Go ahead, Lydia.
Yeah,
yeah,
you
no,
should.
I was thinking about just having some of that. Maybe I'll be him for Halloween.
Just be nicer to Jake.
Yeah,
Than
don't
he
be
is
so
to
mean to
his.
Jake.
Yeah.
You should be like, Jake, go get me a sandwich, bitch.
Just be like extra obnoxious.
Yeah.
You know, he his costume embodies both physically this person, but also like the character. I mean, he's a pig through and through. He's you're rooting for him to die. You hope he does. And he does. So, spoiler alert.
So then we see this old man, and we get this like steady cam shot. Like, not really. It's not a steady cam. It's a really it's early shaky cam. It's handheld camera because we're supposed to be in the point of view of somebody running up to him, and then we're introduced to Sal, who wandered off the set of Grease almost. It feels like he shows up holding a fake rat and scares the old man. The old man's like, "Oh!" He's like, "Hey, old man, chill out." He goes and hangs out with Buddy Ripton, and they. It's a Christine reference for you folks listening. Yeah, so he introduced to that happens. Then we're introduced to our heroine, Judy, who walks up to try to help him pick up all the stuff that he just dropped, and he decides to call her a whore. And then Judy walks off like, what a bastard, I'm just trying to help. Yeah. And the old man's like, these kids will feel it tonight. And he holds up razor blades and an apple. He's like, yes, they'll get it tonight. What are your thoughts on this whole scene?
That old man is terrible.
Just the worst, right?
So scary, and he's so mean to everyone.
Yeah, I love the side story that this sets up.
Yeah, I do too. We'll get to that.
Yeah, and but this scene, it really gives you an idea of already the characters that we're going to see.
It sets up multiple characters because it sets up the kids in the car, it sets up Sal, and then it sets up Judy.
Yep.
all actually pretty nationally and pretty well.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think that's pretty good. But it's also funny because you know who the old man reminds me of? Reminds me of the old man in the They'll Creep Up on You segment of Creep Show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he's just a total mean asshole all the time.
Yeah.
That's what that guy is for sure. So we go from there to Judy goes home, and we're introduced to her little brother. What do you guys think of her little brother?
I'm not kidding, really. I would probably backhand him if it was my brother. But
yeah, so the first time we meet him, he pops out. Judy's in the goes to the bedroom to change her clothes. She's on the phone with the guy, and he tells her, "Hey, we're going to go to this party at Hall House instead of, the dance." And she's like, "Oh, who's putting it on?" Angela. Angela's crazy, but okay, sure. She decides, yeah, fine, I'll go with you to it. So she's changing her clothes. She's wearing just a bra. She goes to open the closet, and her brother pops out wearing a Halloween mask. Scares her, and then says one of my favorite lines of the movie, which is, "Bodacious boobies, sis."
So terrible.
Oh man.
It's so terrible.
Oh my god.
Some of the lines in this movie are really funny.
Yeah, they are.
It's full of one-liners.
Yeah.
So she tells him basically get the hell out of here. And he does. And there's a knock on the door. And it's Sal. And he's like, "Hey, go tell your sister her handsome hunk Sal's waiting for her." And, he's...
I love the interaction between...
The interaction between these two are great. Because he's just basically kind of like, no, go away.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, you should. I'll beat you up." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna yell for my mom. Hey, let's not go crazy."
Hey, you little wuss.
Which is a great character beat that he's pretending to be all tough and stuff. Then when he's like, "I'll tell my mom." No, don't do that. Hey, look.
Well, I mean, on one side that would probably ruin his chances with.
Yeah, well, and on the other side, he's also a kid. He's just acting tough.
Yeah.
So he pulls out the corner and he's like, because he's like, "They're not even going there. I can tell you where they're going." He's like, "Well, tell me. Betray my sister for a measly quarter? Hey, how about you do or I'll pound your face." "Mom!" Oh, wait. Gives him $1. And it is 1988. I don't know what the exchange rate is. So.
Dude, I remember being a kid and being able to go to Eastwood Cinema for 75 cents.
Yeah, it used to be 75 cents. I remember that too.
So he could totally have gotten away with that.
Went to the movies, yeah.
Yeah.
If he lived in central Indiana.
Yeah, man. 75-cent movies anyway.
Anyway.
So basically he tells him they're going to Hall House. And he's like, "No, they're not going there. Believe me or not, you can go." And he takes his mask, steals his mask, and leaves. Then we're introduced to, I believe the next
boyfriend.
The boyfriend comes in, right?
Yeah. She calls him on the phone.
Yeah, she already called him on the phone. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah.
He shows up. This is hilarious. He shows up and basically to pick her up, and the brother has this interaction. "Do you like my sister, or do you just like her big boobs?" Essentially, is what he says. And then the mom hands him these Halloween treats, and he's like, "They look terrible." And he's like, "No thanks, I'm good." And the kid says, "Mom, nobody wants them. They look like sun-dried poodle turds." And they do.
And they do. They totally do.
They really do.
They
look so unappetizing. It's so gross.
Yeah,
I would totally question those and where they came from.
I think that's my favorite scene of the whole movie, honestly. Of just her plate of dog turds that she's trying to offer to everybody.
They look like sun-dried poodle turds. So we're introduced to Leanna Quigley's character and Angela. what's her character's name? Suzanne? Yeah, Suzanne.
Yeah.
We're introduced to Suzanne. We get it like we're introduced to her literally via butt shot. She's bent over and she's shaking her butt in this short skirt, and the two fucking losers behind the counter are just like staring at her, chewing their gum. Meanwhile, Angela has a goddamn like a burlap bag, filling it with just different party supplies. Yeah. So she's grabbing napkins and sodas and just everything, and they're oblivious. Just so after she gets the thing, she tells them, "Hey, I'm good." So she leaves, and then Suzanne walks up and goes, "Hey, do you guys have sour balls here?" And she's like, "Yeah, we do." And she says, "It's like, oh, too bad. No wonder nobody wants to blow you," and walks out.
Great. We're already into like the fifth one-liner of this movie.
Yes.
So
yes.
Oh
funny.
my gosh, yeah. Dude, this scene is fantastic.
It is a good scene.
Only because if you are I don't know if those guys were teens. They seemed a little older than teens.
That one guy looked like he was at least 25.
Yeah. So
like, they're just nerds.
I could kind of see
just pervy nerds.
Maybe getting away with something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As sad as that sounds, I mean, you probably could.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great introduction to those characters too, because we get to see how Suzanne is basically just obsessed with her looks, and she has sex appeal. And we see that Angela is more, just kind of trying to. All she's worried about is this party because it's her chance to make this impression, essentially.
Yeah.
So we get to meet their dynamic, how they're kind of, really close and have great banter together. And then they go and pick up. Jay goes and picks up they go and pick up the friends, the two friends.
Yeah, isn't it Franny and
Franny and I don't remember his
Billy?
Maybe.
Pretty sure it's Billy.
Yeah, Franny.
He was the doctor.
Yeah, the guy that's dressed as the doctor and the woman that's dressed as the nurse, which is her name's 100% Franny.
Yeah, it's Franny and Billy.
Yeah, so Franny and Billy, we are introduced to them, and Billy's probably one of the better actors in the movie. Like,
oh yeah,
very naturalistic. By the way, in the car with Stooge is Roger, or Roge as he's called.
Yeah.
And then what's her name? The
girlfriend?
Elena or something like that.
It's
I wrote it down. I just don't know where I wrote it down at.
Helen.
There it is. Helen. Yes, that was close.
Sure.
So they pick up Billy and Franny, and then they all head out towards the Hull House, and we find out that first of all, there's this scene of Stooge. So Helen is driving now, and Stooge and Roger are fighting over the map. They rip it in half, and he calls her a bitch about 5 more times during this drive scene. Just to drive home that he's the worst. And then we find out that they get a flat tire on the way to Hull House. Mm-hmm. So they have a flat tire. They're on the side of the road. And our group with Judy shows up. And Billy asks him if they need a hand. And then when they say yeah, he decides to applaud them. And they drive off. Judy doesn't appreciate this. She wants to help them. But everybody else is fine with this. This reminds me of something that we would probably do in high school.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds terrible. But yeah. Also, there's a little bit of foreshadowing here. Light foreshadowing. When he's like, we'll give you a hand.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
For the record, I would have definitely went and helped him after I drove off. I would have drove back and helped him.
Yeah.
But we would have totally made him think that we weren't. Ah, idiots!
Dude, one
But-
time when I was in high school, there was
Oh,
a
no.
there
Derek
was this
story
kid-
time.
I know there was this kid who was walking down the side of the road. It was raining, much like it has been all day today. Anyway, and such
I
a
already know where this
fable.
is going.
I sped up. He was right next to a mud puddle, and I just doused him. I didn't know the kid, but anyway, years later.
Which
Years
makes it
later-
okay.
Yeah, I didn't know him,
know him, so
it
it was
all
fine.
right. Yeah, but no, years later, karma came back and bit me because the exact same thing happened to me. So
In the same
still-
spot.
no, it might have been because it was like if
By
you're
Square
walking
D?
to the high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I
did
know
you
where you're
know
talking-
that?
Because I got sprayed at that same spot.
Everybody
I swear
knows
it
that
wasn't you.
puddle.
I did. I swear it wasn't you.
Wait a minute. I understand this now. No.
That's hilarious that you just guessed that.
Well, it's because you know the spot too, Lydia. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knows that splash
Yeah.
puddle right there.
Andrew and I were walking home from school one day, and these kids just doused us, and we had to walk the rest of the way home soaking wet.
I mean, the whole road literally gets completely flooded right there, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
does. It does. I like how we're telling the world our Prue history at the moment.
Well, they didn't know where we lived until just now.
They now know that we live in South America. It's fine.
Anyway, the
We'll
sidetrack
redact
story.
it.
But I'm really glad that you know, one, I got paid back for that, but two, also that you got it too. So it makes me feel better.
No, not alone.
If there's anybody else here who went to Peru and got hit by that mud puddle, please feel free to comment down at the comment section.
We know
Well,
you're
well-
listening, and we know you got splashed. Just
We
Yeah.
let
know.
us know
Just
about
admit
it.
Lydia,
please.
have you been splashing that area?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Must be a guy thing.
Lydia. You.
Well, I didn't actually go to your school, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't
But you
usually
still
just
know
walk
the
down
spot.
that street. I
still
just
know
go
the
around
spot.
splashing people.
Now the truth comes out. You're probably the one that splashed me. No, you weren't driving yet. That's how old we are.
I wasn't born yet.
You were born,
Whoa,
damn you.
whoa. Whoa, too far, Lydia.
Sorry.
That was too far for sure. You're right, Derek.
I got a
You're gonna take
little bit
points
of gray
away.
in my beard. The whole thing's not gray.
Same. Okay, so next we have once they arrive at Hull House, there's a really cool scene, I think, where they do a really good job of like explaining the
mythology.
history, the mythology of it very naturalistically.
Uh-huh.
So when they arrive, he goes with the stethoscope and he's checking out the wall, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Judy, come here and check this out."
Yeah.
And
the
she's used
ground?
the running water, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, this was built upon the whole wall was built upon running water. Had something to do with, evil spirits can't cross running water, which is an actual myth, which is especially vampires at certain points can't cross running water. These sort of things happen.
Yeah.
So it's a great little piece of mythology that they threw in there very naturally. I feel like.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. That was perfectly set up. And also, Billy was the one, I think, he was the doctor.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, I mean, he seems to be the only person in this group that knows anything about this place, even though they all know where it is.
Yeah,
But,
well, it's because he reads. Remember, he tells us later that he reads. That's why he knows.
Yeah. But I think part of the mythology, and I think this might be a little bit later whenever they get into this, but it was like an old burial ground, or there was an Indian settlement there, and there were weird things that happened then. So it's got a really long history. They did a really good job of setting up the mythos of
the mythology
this
of
house and the things that go on there. It's great.
So basically, we get after that. There's some like fake scares. Sal jumps out of a coffin that's laying there because it used to be a mortuary. Yeah. So he jumps out of the coffin and scares Jay, and Jay's like, "Oh, I'll beat you up," and she says, "Knock it off." And he said, "Why are you on his side?" well, you were about to climb in there and scare somebody else. He just got to you first. So what are you pissed off about?
Yeah.
And that's where we get our first inkling. Well, our first inkling that Jay is trash is right when they walk outside, and he immediately just starts like trying to suck her face off right there.
Yeah.
And that's when you're just immediately like, I don't think I really like this guy. And then there's that bit where he goes off. And I will say that I think that what's interesting about these characters is I think that Sal is a much better guy than Jay.
Yeah.
And we find that out as the movie goes on. Kind of like a diamond in the rough is Sal, I feel like.
Yeah.
So then we get this, the party starts proper after Stooge and company arrive, and Angela and Suzanne arrive. And there's this great scene while they're setting up the party where Judy is trying to light these candles with a lighter. It's not working. Mm-hmm. And she sets the lighter down. Angela comes by with matches and lights them. And then says something about, like, don't litter the spirits, blah, blah. And so Judy picks up the lighter because she's kind of afraid of it and keeps it, which actually comes very much in handy at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So it was a very good way to introduce that lighter into the story without it seeming like this is going to be used later. It's more like a little throwaway, oh, I'm scared kind of thing. But
which I really liked. I really relate to that because I feel like I'm like that. Like if somebody says would have said something like that to me, like I take that information in and I'm like, I'll make it my own like superstition. Like, oh, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's totally me. So I was like, yes, 100%. Put that in your pocket.
Yeah. Which is weird. You're right. It is kind of like their own superstition that they made up, right? Like she's like, the spirits don't like littering, which I wish was true because then every time somebody throws something out of a window, they would get like reprimanded by spirits, and the world would be in a lot better place. But that is interesting. There's this bit they're listening to like some rock song. They're all like dancing around, having a good time, and then
wait. Before you get to that, so this also again sets up what kind of person Jay is, because man, he like literally takes the bait from what's her face.
Oh well, that's
Suzanne.
true. Because also in this scene when they light a fire and Suzanne is over warming herself by the fire, and all the guys are just staring at her butt as she's bent over at this fire.
Yeah.
Then she turns around and puts her butt at the fire. And Billy is standing right there with her butt right in his face. And his girlfriend comes over and, of course, kind of, stakes her claim. And Suzanne kind of walks off. Yeah, so during this dance scene that's taking place, they bring out they have the music playing, and then they bring out this strobe light, which happens at about 24 minutes into this movie. It's just for people that suffer from epilepsy or such, so that way you guys know. But they bring out the strobe light and it starts flashing and they're dancing around, and you're right, Jay immediately leaves Judy to go to Suzanne because he knows that she'll put out for sure.
Oh yeah.
Because all she's talked about at this point was cute boys. You're gonna invite cute boys. Is there any cute boys? So the music turns off.
The battery
strobe light goes out. Yeah, the battery supposedly died.
Yeah.
And Stooge is like, I just put some in there earlier today, bro.
Oh, this is totally a plug for Duracell. He was like, you should have used Duracell.
Yeah. Like, I just put some new batteries in there earlier today, bro. And so they decide to play like a game. They're like, let's play, let's do a seance. Like,
yeah, like see your future self or something.
Yeah, it's like, well, let's do a past life seance. So you're supposed to look into it and see your past life. So Roger and stooge go into this. They hear a noise. They go to investigate, and Roger sees something. I still don't know what he sees. Did you guys pick up what he saw?
No.
Was it just a feeling that he had, or what?
I guess
he just all of a sudden is spooked.
Yeah. Well, and his dad is a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Or was a preacher,
Yeah,
or is a preacher. But yeah, that never gets explained that I could recall. I didn't pick up on anything. But yeah, they're like, oh, you're as white as a ghost. And he's like all distraught against the fireplace. And
yeah, and I thought we were like going to see something, or he's going to tell us I saw this. But we never, I don't think, get resolution to that. He just is afraid of it. He sees something or feels something that scares him.
Then pork chop pokes his head out there. I said, then pork chop.
You mean
pokes
Stooge?
his head out there. Stooge.
You guys are never going to believe what I just found.
A mirror.
Yeah, it's like just a big mirror.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Like it doesn't even have like a pentagram on it or anything. It's just a regular asshole mirror.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's easily been at least, 20 years since I've seen this movie. And so it's crazy what you can recall for a movie that you haven't seen in 20 years. But like I had no idea what he had found. And like my mind is like, they're at a mortuary. Maybe they found a dead body or a skeleton or something like that. And then all of a sudden out comes the mirror and I'm like, wow, that's
well, I mean, in the context
anticlimactic.
In the context of the scene, it makes perfect sense because they were talking about how they needed a mirror. And then he's like, so that's why he's like, you guys will never believe what I just found. Yeah. A mirror, just what we were talking about. But for us, the audience, we kind of forgot about that because Roger comes out and he's all like scared. We have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
We're like, so what's Roger scared of? I saw his own reflection. Thought he was hideous. Like, what is it? So they do this seance thing. So apparently what's supposed to happen is they chant this thing, then the mirror turns black, and then they're supposed to be able to see their past lives.
Yeah.
So instead, the mirror starts to turn black. One of them say something, and it ruins the effect. So while they're all arguing, Helen looks in the mirror and sees herself with like a gross face or something.
A smushed face.
Yeah, smushed, which is what kills her. I think is how she dies.
It is.
But she has like a smushed, bloody face, and then she freaks out and knocks over the mirror, which shatters, which gives me one of my favorite shots in the movie, which is them all standing over the broken glass, and we see all of them reflected in the broken glass. It's a really great setup and a really great shot. What do you guys think of this?
Yes,
yeah.
Love it. I was immediately like, wow, that is really cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a similar shot in one of the Evil Dead movies?
There's a similar shot in Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness,
but that's just Bruce looking at the shatter by himself.
Okay.
Because, that's where we get the little mini ashes that come out, which we'll cover. We'll definitely cover Army of Darkness.
But it was a really good shot.
Yeah, what was cool about it is each of the actors are framed in a different piece of the glass.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have had to take a lot of setup and a lot of time. And it's great, so that way they're acting off of it. So this essentially unleashes the demon. Because they summoned it, and then this unleashes it once they broke the mirror. Because we get this Evil Dead-ish shot where it's pushing through the house, and it's going through each of them, and they're all like making different jokes. Oh, they start smelling. First, they start smelling the smell, and they're like, oh, who let one rip? Blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, it's so cold in here. And it goes to Suzanne, who has her mouth open because she's doing her lipstick, and it enters her mouth, and we see like the steam. So then she immediately changes into like evil Suzanne, I guess.
Demon Suzanne.
So there's this great line I forgot to say when Stooge is like trying to get everybody to go in there because he wants to know what that noise was. He calls everybody festering fuckwads. Which is
that sounds like a Joey line. I'm not gonna lie.
It kind of does sound like a festering fuckwads.
Yeah.
Lydia, you should start using that in your everyday vocabulary.
Right? Could you imagine?
You should say that to one of your
go to work,
clients.
Yeah, I think tomorrow when you go to work, you should Say that to your boss. I'll say that to the next client when they answer the phone.
Yeah. What do you want, you festering fuckwads?
And then you to one of your clients. Then next week we will all be unemployed and be doing this podcast full time.
We're really going to need your support after that.
We need the Patreon.
Yeah.
A new horror movie every day, though. Imagine.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
We're going to start pumping out content.
So after this, when the camera's moving all around, we get this cool, like, Evil Dead-ish shot, like I said, where it kind of goes up over them, over the characters. So this movie has really great camera work, I feel like.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really great cinematography in it. So Roge is freaked out at this point. He's just freaked out, and he's like, the smell was, because Angela starts telling everybody everything, the smells, we unleash demons because the smell and the cold, and they're like, well, what's the difference between demons and spirits? And she says, well,
possession and...
Yeah, because she's like, so spirits, ghosts, hauntings are people that have died, and they're spirits.
Yeah.
Demons are possessed houses or entities that have never lived on Earth.
Yeah.
They're demons, essentially. So then that's when Roger starts freaking out even more, and he's like, my daddy was a preacher. I know this shit is bad. I'm out. So he leaves, and he goes to leave with Helen.
Yep.
And Stooge is like, no way, man, I'm going to stay. And he leaves with Helen, and then Suzanne throws the keys to him, throws Angela's keys and says, take these. Because she knows that they can't get out, essentially. So she's like, take her car. It's your party, honey. You're not going anywhere. She also speaks in like a manly voice at one point.
Yeah.
Says, not yet, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't weird at all.
Yeah, no.
Everybody like pauses for a minute and then just like keeps going.
He has like barely any reaction to it.
Yeah.
Like, that was a weird time for her to bust out her man voice, but whatever. So, she says she has to go to the bathroom. And before she leaves, she gives Angela a kiss. She grabs her by her face and just kisses her. At this point, also, we might add, so Judy, Jay, Billy, and Franny all have left. They go to explore the house. And so it's just Stooge, Sal, Suzanne, and Angela. And they're like, well, now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of this party. And she kisses Angela and transports the demon into her. And when she does that, like, she says, I need somebody to take me to the bathroom. And Sal's like, I'll take you. And he's like, I actually want Stooge to take me. But Stooge is a fat pig. Well, maybe I'm into pork tonight, she says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they leave. And like when they kiss, there's this great bit where Sal's just kind of like, what's going on? And Stooge is kind of like, all right. So they leave, and it's just Sal and Angela. And the music comes back on. And this is one of my favorite scenes because it's so fucking weird. When she starts dancing. Right? So the music comes back on, the strobe light starts hitting again, and it's playing this like freaking fear song, like
yeah.
Stigmata, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And she's like doing this like weird sexual dance to it, and like showing her like, by the way, like, what undergarments was she wearing? Like she was planning on getting laid tonight. It seems like.
80s, that's just what they wore in the 80s, I think.
They always wore sexy lingerie in the 80s, don't you know?
Yeah, and that girl could dance too. Holy cow!
Yeah.
No,
went
and
on forever. But
yeah,
I
I like the
she's
jump
a good
cuts.
dancer.
It goes on for
Yeah.
such an uncomfortable amount of time, purposely, I think.
Yeah.
So the point of it is you start to like, then it just gets uncomfortable, and you're like, why are you still standing there? Which he doesn't. He's like, getting the fuck out of here. This is really weird. Also, at the point after Suzanne kisses her cross earring turns upside down. Did you guys notice that?
No.
Now that you say that, yes.
Yes, her cross earring. You know, she's wearing the cross earring. After she kisses her and the demon goes in her, the next shot is turned upside down. So it's an upside down cross. Great
Very
little
good
bit.
attention to detail.
Yeah, it's what
Nice.
I do. That's a great bit. I think that's a great little Easter egg.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. By the way, this movie is really well shot.
Yeah, very.
There's
well
a lot of small details that they get right.
So we cut to Roger outside, and
Roger and Helen.
Yeah, Roger and Helen are looking for the gate, and they can't find it. Like
Yeah,
the gate's not there.
Circled the property a couple of times.
And then she vanishes. So Roger goes and hides in the car.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess what else is he going to do, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I would have drawn like crosses on it and stuff.
They start taunting him, Roger. You know, which
this is where we get our first kill.
Yeah, well, actually, a little bit later, but in the same area, yeah. Because first we cut back to like the history lesson where they tell him the mystery, the backstory, and then Jay's like, "Hey, get out of here," So they leave, and he starts putting the moves on Judy, and she's like not having, she's like, "Dude, we find out basically this is their first date."
Yeah.
So it's not like they're a couple. They're going on this date, and he thinks that she's easy because he thinks she slept with Sal.
Yeah.
And we find out that basically he just wants to hook up with her.
Yeah. And when he finds out that she did not, he's like, oh, well, I know someone who does.
Yeah. So then he cuts out, and he locks her in that fucking room like a piece of trash. Right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of, like, is this the point where you totally lose it with Jay?
Oh, no, I lost it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like, from the beginning, but then you're just like, wow, like this guy really is just trash. Like, I mean, like, he, like, a boyfriend and girlfriend, he's like, okay, we're gonna hook up tonight in this haunted thing, it's gonna be awesome. But she was not into it, and he pushed her too far, and then he like completely does not care about her all of a sudden.
No.
Like no cares whatsoever towards her, like as a human. So you're just like, wow.
Cool guy.
Cool, really cool guy.
Yeah. I think the point where I lost it with him was actually when they were all dancing, and he just left her to go to Suzanne.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. He's a real doucher.
Yeah, I kind of felt it I told you, like I said, the first scene when he's inside with her, you're like, well, when he first approaches her, he like tries to kiss her in front of her mom and everything, and she's like, whoa, are you ready to get going? And then as soon as they get outside, he starts like kissing on her, and she's like, hey, what, not now. And he's like, oh yeah, we have all night.
Yeah. What
a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Not a cool guy, guys. Not a cool guy.
Not a good look for him.
So, so then the next bit we see Helen is our first kill. But I don't know how she dies.
Off screen.
It's an off-screen kill.
She's going around the wall, walking it with Roger, and then she just is no longer there. Yeah. And then the next scene that you see her is her death scene in the mirror, which is her face getting On the windshield.
Yeah, she like falls on the windshield, and he sees it and he screams.
Yeah.
Um, and then also at the same time, Stu is looking for, or he's waiting. They find the bathroom, he and Suzanne, and then he says like, "Fuck, dude." He tells her, "Well, I thought we could go in there together. I thought we could do it together." He's got to pee, and then
it's gross.
He finally gets. Oh, it's great. It's great now that your secret's been exposed.
That was off camera, by the way.
Yeah, it was off camera.
No one needs to know anything other than this.
It's only exposed to me right now. Just
yeah, it is. So yeah, so like basically does she like jump out the window?
Who?
Suzanne?
Who are we talking about?
No. There's a broken mirror in there, right? Or glass?
Oh yeah, that's what it is, broken glass. Because he hears something.
Yeah.
And he like busts in and she's not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, she's in there. She is, right? Because this is pretty close to the lipstick scene.
No. Because he goes into the bathroom and she's not there. So then he goes back downstairs, remember? Stooge does. With Angela.
Does he?
Yeah, Stooge goes downstairs.
Because I think the next time that we see... with Angela. Never mind.
Yeah. Because he goes downstairs with Angela, runs into... Because Sal's down there. And he's like starting to leave because he's like, this is getting weird. And he's like, oh, what's going on? And she says... or Sal says, hey, listen, you probably need to stay away from her. She's acting really fucking weird. And he's like, all right, man, that's what I'm into. And
it's not the weird ones you have to worry about.
That's what it is. It's not the weird ones you have to worry about.
Didn't your mom ever teach you about women?
Yeah, that's it. Also, we skipped a line that Stooge says that's really funny. When they were talking about the smell and everything, and he's like, well, maybe that was just a bit of cold wind that came out of Roger's butthole.
Oh my god.
But
the lines in this.
So he leaves. Sal leaves to go find Judy. And while he's doing that, Stooge goes and starts like dancing with Angela. It starts playing like some slow dance music. And then she asks him like to kiss her. Mm-hmm. And he does. Because she's like, I never realized how sexy you are. And he's like, oh, like, listen, if you're Stooge, this is a PSA. If you're Stooge and a woman's dancing and says she never realized how sexy you were, you're about to be murdered. Future reference, because that's not something people say to you, okay?
You know, there in the project that we're working on together, there's some foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you what, I do not have a sexy butt. Anyway, neither here nor there.
So they start kissing, and she bites off his tongue.
Yeah.
And wiggles it in her own mouth. And there's a great shot, like the way she's lit and her eyes are glowing.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. This is where we first see Demon Angela, and I love the way Demon Angela looks. I love her look.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Demon Angela?
She's real pretty.
She's fine.
I love her because you see, when I was a kid and I would be walking the halls of Video Stop or Blockbuster, and I'd go to the horror section, I always saw the poster for Night of the Demon. And I always saw that picture of Angela on the front of it. And ever since I was a kid, I was like, ooh, that looks scary. And oh, what a cool, that's a cool image. She looks so cool, like a black, wearing the black bridal dress and everything. She's a standout character in this. She's the only one that returned for the sequels. But so that's where we get our first introduction to her and her full makeup. And then basically she kills Stooge. Stooge is dead. I mean, he's done ski. And so Sal is upstairs and he runs into Roger. And Roger's telling him, hey, you know, tell him, Sam, we got to get out of here. And he's like, well, we've got to get, you know, something weird's going on. We've got to get Judy, because Judy is still stuck in that room.
Yeah.
She still can't get out of the room. And, well, I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, because I think, doesn't Stooge come back first? Yes, because Stooge comes back from the dead first, and he runs into Billy and Franny, who are in a coffin having sex.
Oh, yeah.
And Franny says, or he says, this is worse than my mom's VW.
Yeah.
Like, because it's so cramped in there.
Yep.
And Stooge shows up, and they're like, Stooge, what the fuck? Get out of here. And her destiny's not very good. He snaps her neck. And then he smashes off Billy's arm with the casket lid.
Yep.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but the first time he slammed my arm in the casket is when he lifts is about the time I pull my fucking arm back in.
Yeah.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Unless it just completely broke and he couldn't move it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, he basically loses his arm in via the casket lid and bleeds out and dies. So then Stooge goes in. He's trying to open the door to get to Judy, and he can't get in. So he walks around. They are, you know, Roger's trying to tell him about Angela. That's when they run it. They see Angela, and he's hiding. They're hiding, and Angela's floating down the hallways, all creepy and shit.
Yep.
And they manage to get upstairs, and that's where they find Judy is in that room. So Sal breaks her out. And then there's basically Jay has run, at this point is around the time that Jay runs into Susan. Let's talk about Susan's scene here, guys.
Yeah.
So Susan's sitting alone in this room with shattered glass, right? And the lights have come back on in the house. And she has painted her whole face with lipstick. Yep. Right? So she's got her face covered in lipstick. So then she decides that she has an idea. She unbuttons pulls off her shirt, opens her shirt, so her bare breasts are exposed. Then starts drawing on her chest, draws around her boob, then pushes the lipstick through her nipple. Right? So what are your guys' thoughts on this scene?
I've got some, Lydia. Are you ready for this?
You got some thoughts?
Yeah. So, like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. So, like, as a kid, when I watched this, I was probably like 9 or 10. I don't know. Anyway, my mom shouldn't have been letting me watch movies like this. But the only thing I can remember is, like, I was so mesmerized because I was like, how did they do that? Now, when you look at it, you realize, oh, yeah, it's totally a fake chest.
Yeah.
Pretty good
totally
one,
fake.
though. A pretty good one.
No, yeah, it looked, you know, pretty realistic. I mean, you could tell that it was a fake chest, but then it makes so much more sense now that I'm an adult and know how the world works. But I was like, that's amazing. I don't know.
What are your thoughts on this scene, Lydia?
So I don't think we talked about this, but this is the first time I've seen this full movie.
Oh, this is the first time you've seen this.
Yes.
This is just coming out.
Yeah. I usually ask at the beginning of the episode, but I completely forgot to.
Yes. So when we got to this scene, my first thing, so she like opens her shirt up, and me and Jake always just like look at each other, we're like, whoa. And then, so I was like, wait, her boob looks kind of weird right now. Like, what's going on? And I was just like, did that look weird to you? And it was just like, keep watching. And then she does that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that totally like threw me off guard. I did not expect her to just push that into her nipple. Like, what the hell? Totally shocked me.
So it did its job, basically.
I was really grossed out too at the same time. I was like, that was so disgusting to see.
Yeah, what's really cool about it is when she presses it in and she pulls it out and it's all together again.
Yeah.
Like it's just seamless. And then the next shot, she's actually just, has her shirt up. It's her actual boobs again. And so they do a pretty good job of cutting in between it. I remember as a kid being like you, Derek, and I was like, what is going on? I was like, that
do they
looks
really
like it would
do
hurt.
that?
I was like, that looks like it would hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I was feeling different things because their boobs were out. So I was mesmerized at the same time.
This movie came out in 1988. I guarantee I saw it like in the very mid 90s. So I was like, had to be like 9 or 10, something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely saw this when I was too young to see it, but I was like, I remember having that feeling. But
there were no parental boundaries in my house.
I guess not.
Which, for your brother, didn't turn out to be a great thing. Quick side story about your brother. Tell them about one of our theories was why your brother is your aunt. What your aunt told you.
Oh my gosh, man! So my son, when he was just a baby, he was having trouble sleeping at night, right? Which babies do. That's just natural. So I'm over at my mom's house and my aunt's there. And I'm telling my mom, like, hey, he's having trouble sleeping. And my aunt goes, oh, he's got his days and his nights mixed up. You should put him in a pillowcase and tip him upside down. And I'm like, what?
What?
She was like, yeah, we did that to Jay. And I'm like, well, man, that makes a lot of sense. But that's definitely not the right procedure to do to a baby.
What the hell?
Like, that's child abuse.
You never heard that? You never heard that one, Lydia?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't everybody know that?
I just imagine them having Jay in this giant pillowcase going,
Yeah, what the heck?
Let me know.
How terrifying would that be?
She also threw Jay and I out of a moving car because the engine caught on fire. And my mom's trying to pull over to the side of the road. But when my mom gets pulled over, she looks back in the back seat. And both Jay and myself have been tossed out of the car.
Wow.
And my aunt's back there alone.
Then later in life, she says, yeah, I don't know. The good Lord just decided not to bless me with children.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I wonder why.
That's a conundrum. I don't know. I love you, Aunt Joyce.
I'm picturing Aunt Gail on Bob's Burgers. That's what I pictured, like just some like off the wall character.
She's off the wall.
One more because this will tell you everything you need to know. So my brother made a pair of nunchucks out of just like this piece of board that was cut in half and some rope, right? And he had an obsession with Chuck Norris, and he's like in our house swinging these nunchucks around. And my cousin, who's probably 4 or 5, like is walking through, and he like nails her right in the head. So instead of A, calling 911, B, taking the child with you, none of these things happen. My aunt runs out of the house and starts running towards the hospital by herself.
Wow.
To get help. I'm like, you're not good in a crisis situation.
Oh my God.
Not at all.
Good Lord. Well, now that we slandered your aunt's name on our podcast,
I'm telling you, one day we'll have a whole podcast where we just talk about like my family history. It'll be a laugh for everybody.
We'll just tell some fairy dragon stories. I think that'll do it. So Jay, after she pushes the lipstick through her boob, Jay enters and is like, just like, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, when the lights come back on. And she like walks right over to him and unzips his pants. And he's like, all right, like, calm down.
Yeah. Finally
Somebody's putting out. And then, so they start to, she like basically lays him down. And then she starts like flashing up, like she flashes her full frontal because she's Lana Quigley and that's what she does. And they start to have sex. And as they're having sex, she says, why are you looking at me? You know, is there something wrong with my makeup? And starts to freak out and then turns into the demon. And the whole time before this, he's kind of like, what are you talking about? You know, what are you talking about? Your makeup looks fine, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, because he's just still wanting to get laid. And then she turns into the demon and then jams her thumbs into his eyes and makes them explode.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts of this?
Pretty gross. They like popped.
Yeah.
I don't know how they filmed that actually, because it looked like weirdly like real, like his face was there. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it was his actual face, but I'm sure obviously it was probably a dummy once they got to the popping part. But yeah, the way the eyes pop looked phenomenal.
The only
a really good dummy.
Yeah. No, so it was great. First off, he deserved everything he got in this scene. And the special effects was great. It only is rivaled by, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, the scene from the Viper and the Mountain from Game of Thrones, whenever he gets his freaking head crushed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that one I still have to turn away. It makes me queasy. But yeah, no, it was a great effect. They did a great job in that scene.
Yeah, it was a good kill. It's one of my probably my favorite kill of the movie. Because the way they pop is what makes it. Like, we've seen, I mean, there's a great one in a movie that's maybe we're going to be reviewing here coming up. But there's a great one in that, too. But there's it's the pop of it is what makes it unique. I've seen, fingers and eyes plenty of times, but the way it pops is just very unique. And you're like, whoa, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So he's dead, of course. So Sal runs that downstairs, and before he runs into Judy, I forgot, there's this great shot. Angela's hands, she's warming her hands by the fire, and she turns around and her hands are on fire. And so just warming up by the fire. And they do the Jaws vertigo shot.
Yeah.
Where we do the push in, zoom out, you know. And he's like, great, love it, great camera work again, great cinematography. And so basically now our only survivors are Sal, Roge, and Judy. And they're basically at this point running from Demon. Basically, the only two they're running from are at this point are Demon Stooge and Demon Angela. Because we don't even see Demon Suzanne at this point. It's just them two. And they're trying to run. Sal tries to save Judy from Demon Suzanne. It tries to save Judy from Demon Suzanne and gets thrown out of a window. And he lands and he ends up in like this like area. So he climbs up onto the roof.
Yeah, it was weird because it was kind of like it was just a random. I don't want to say an alley, but there were pipes that he could climb up, water pipes, because he makes a comment.
So he climbs up the pipes, and then he's on the. He gets up to the roof.
Onto the roof, yeah.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, Roge and Judy are running, and Roge is downstairs. He's downstairs already, and he's yelling at Judy to come down.
Yeah.
And she's like, shh, be quiet, you know? And she's attacked by Angela.
Yep.
And Sal saves her. And they both take a tumble off the roof, and Sal gets impaled.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Sal's sacrifice?
I don't remember it, honestly. You said he got impaled?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
when
he
he fell
falls.
off the roof.
They fall off the
Yeah.
roof together, he and Angela, and he
Yep,
gets
and then
impaled by like a piece of fence
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of do remember that now.
I think it's a good character arc for Sal because,
Oh yeah.
like I said, you see him and you think that this guy's just a piece of crap, really, and then you find out that he's actually cares about Judy and tries to save her and tries to save Roge and tries to save as many people as he can, and he dies a hero, really.
Yeah,
So,
no, he definitely dies a hero, and he doesn't know that he's gonna die at this moment. But jumping in to save her, it definitely shows a lot of his character. You're absolutely right. And even though they are on cursed grounds, I feel like that should still be a one-way ticket.
yeah, definitely.
Sacrifice.
So,
Work for Constantine.
yeah, this does work for Constantine, that's for sure. So she's hanging off the roof, and
This is a funny bit, by the way. Because
yeah,
you can totally tell it's a stunt double.
dude, she's hanging off the roof, and Roger's of no help at all. He's like, keep coming, just move, blah. And she's like, I can't, Raj. So she eventually falls because Stooge comes. And it's a weird, terrible fall. Like, this fall is weird to me.
Yeah.
She falls, and then it does this weird cut to them landing. Oh! And then Stooge drops down. They run, and they end up getting trapped in the crematorium.
Yeah.
So they're trapped in the crematorium, and they lock themselves in. And Angela starts talking to Raj and saying, give us the girl. That's all we want. We'll let you live or whatever. And then she's like, I'm lying. We're going to torture you, your whole soul, because we know how scared you are, basically.
Yeah.
And they start using telepathy to remove the
bolts
hinges
from the door.
The hinges from the door.
So there's a little confusion at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is definitely where the demon came out. She sees a door. We then find out it is the door to the
Crematorium.
The furnace that you get cremated in. So she opens the door and she's like rummaging around and finds a skull. Now when she pulls the skull up, it could just be that person had some really long canines, but you could also be like, is that a vampire skull? Did anybody else get that?
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah, or just a demon skull in general. Is what I was thinking.
Could be demon
like
but it didn't. Its canines were really pronounced.
Yeah. So she sees this, and then they start breaking through, and she's like, "We need a weapon, a pipe." She's like, "There's this bit which is really badly acted, but she's having this." She's saying like, "So we have to last till midnight, or that's because they can't do it, right, Raj? Because they can't travel." Because they can only travel tonight, right, Raj? Is that what she's saying? Right, Raj? And basically says we have to make it till dawn. If we make it till dawn, we'll survive.
Yeah. It's kind of like you forgot your lines. Is that right, Raj?
Yeah, it's like really awkward. The acting is not great in this, but what I do like is the character arc of this is Judy is much stronger than Raj.
Yeah.
Judy is much tougher than Raj, and she's more take charge than Raj, and he's like kind of worthless at this point. He's useless in this whole scene.
Yeah, he's so scared.
He's useless. He's just scared and hiding in the corner. So she has to just do it all herself. She goes to grab a pipe and pulls it out. And I love this. It's so 80s. It's such a fucking 80s movie part. She pulls out that lighter, and because she smells the gas when she pulls it. So she gets the lighter, and once they open the door, she gets the lighter to light, and it turns into a fucking flamethrower.
Yeah.
And just torches them. Catches them on fire. And then she's like, I can't turn it off, Rod. You got to turn it off. So he crawls over and sees the knob, turns it off. And, they go to make their escape. What do you guys think of this whole sequence?
The funny part about this is when she like gets this gas line, essentially is what it is, and she's pulling. I mean, at that point, it turns more into like a garden hose. The way she's pulling it out of the wall.
Mhm.
I mean, it's great. It's good storytelling. It's fun. It's a flamethrower.
Yeah.
It does its job, and so it's a lot of fun. But still, I just kept going back to, oh, that's an interesting hose she's got there. She pulled out from the wall.
What do you think of this bit, Lydia? Especially since it's your first time seeing it.
I was like, I was sitting on the couch and I looked over at Jake and I was like, "Hey, Jake, is that how gas pipes work?" He was like, "I don't think so, but
But it's still fun.
He was like, "But
Yeah.
I've never tried that before, so I don't
Yeah.
know."
In the off chance that you're ever stuck in a crematorium and being attacked by demons, you know what your weapons you have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it probably would have all just blown up realistically, but
Yeah.
but I love the
who knows?
yeah, I love the concept of when is it never bad? It's always badass to have a flamethrower, right? So
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
is.
I
But who pays the
enjoyed
gas
that.
bill?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's silly, but I was like, sure, why not? I mean, of all the other silly shit we've seen in this, sure, of course, you know. It's really not much sillier than Ash building a chainsaw hand, but we just go
Fair.
along with that because we're like,
Yeah.
that's badass. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
So they escape, and after another holdup in the house to create a little more tension, they end up running towards the wall. Roger straight out jumps out of the window, which is fucking hilarious. He says, "Y'all ain't gonna get me!"
Yeah.
Window.
Oh my God, you're totally right.
And he says, he's like, "I'm alive." The best part is he jumped out of this window and everything, and Judy literally just walks
Steps
out of it.
Out. Yeah, she just takes one step out of it and it's fine.
It's so funny. So they end up going to the. She remembers, hey, we've got to get over the wall with the running water, because she paid attention to the things that Billy said.
Yeah.
And so this is really actually pretty great. They have to, in order to get over the wall, they have to climb this barbed wire, right? So it's like one more obstacle you put in front of your heroes. So Raj does it. He climbs up, and Judy's having trouble. It just hurts her too much as she's doing it, and she's like, "Ah, ow!" And so finally, she as she's doing it, the demons attack her. Raj is trying to help her up, but he can't quite, and then he just falls off to the other side. And there's this moment where it looks like he's just going to let her die, essentially, because he covers his ears and he, kind of closes his eyes because he's like nothing he can do about it. She's getting pulled down. She's kind of holding on to the rope there, the barbed wire, and then he climbs back up and he reaches down for her and says, "Come on, girl!" And he grabs her, and they both pull off and fall onto the other side of the wall, and then the dawn comes. They all burst into smoke,
Green, smoky, flamey stuff.
Smoke. And then we see the demon head.
Yeah,
the demon head at the end, basically cursing them. What do you guys think of this ending? What do you think of this big climactic scene, Lydia? This is the first time you watched it. What do you think?
I liked the demon head. I guess, I don't know. It was kind of like kind of looked like a lobster kind of creature. Kind of was like a crustacean a little bit.
Crustacean, yeah.
Jake actually missed the scene where they saw that in the
mirror.
He it must have looked away. He didn't see it. So at the end, he was like, "What the hell is that thing?" So that was kind of funny, but yeah, it was an ending.
Yeah. What about the barbed wire bit?
Oh yeah, I didn't like that. I was like, "Oh, that's rough."
Yeah, it's rough stuff. Derek, what do you think of this climax here?
I thought it was great. It was kind of a redemption arc, a little bit for Roger, that he got some kahunas and decided to not let Judy get fed to the wolves. It's was very suspenseful. I don't know that I would have been able to climb up a barbed wire piece hanging off of a brick building or a brick wall. So yeah, it was a good scene. It was a lot of fun. It was a good ending to that portion.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, I think I would have tried to grab around the barbs because it looks like there was a lot of space in between those barbs.
Yeah,
That would have been my strategy. But yeah, I like it too. It's cool that they have to get, just cross this barrier to get out, and it's cool that they have to do it. I like the storytelling of it. I think it's fun, and the execution was decent. I don't like. I feel like when they're reaching up, they're kind of reaching up too much. It's like taking them too hard to pull her down. They could have, I don't know, had her a little higher so they're barely reaching her or something. Because you don't know why can't they just pull her down? But that's nitpicky stuff. I still think it's a good set piece, a good ending, and we get some special effects and some smoke and stuff. So it's ends kind of big. I mean, they didn't have the budget to probably do the whole poltergeist getting sucked into nothingness, which we'll do eventually too. Don't worry. So that's the end of that bit. So the next scene, we see Roger and Judy walking down the street, disheveled, looking like crap. She's got a big cut on her leg. And they pass the old man. And the old man's like, basically calls him gutter trash. Yeah. Out all night, gutter trash, like just because he's like, damn kids.
Yeah.
So this is the bookend that we were talking about. So he goes inside and he sits down at the table, grumpy as hell. And his wife comes over and is like, I'll get your coffee, and gives him his cup. And he's like, just like a dick. And then she gives him this pie, and he starts eating it. And she says, how is it? He's like, it's okay. You used to love my homemade pies. And he's like, homemade? Yeah, I used all those apples from last night. We didn't have near as many trick-or-treaters as we used to. I don't know why you buy so many. And it's this point that he realizes eating that has razor blades in them.
Yeah.
So his neck rips open with razor blades all over, and then he dies. His wife comes over and pats him, happy Halloween.
Kisses him on the head, right?
Kisses him on the head and says, happy Halloween, dear, and takes a drink. Like she knew that there was razor blades in there. She just wanted to get rid of this rotten bastard. Mm-hmm. That's how we end. What do you guys think of this scene?
I love her. She's just like, that guy was pure evil. Like,
he was.
He might as well have been the demon. Like, he was just as evil as a demon is.
Yeah. What do you think?
Also, who gives apples to trick-or-treaters? Like,
that's also a sign of evil. That's also a sign of evil.
Yes.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah.
That's like when you go to the dentist office. You go to a dentist house and they give you fucking toothbrushes.
A toothbrush. Yeah.
You're like, what
the
worst. What the fuck is this shit?
The neck effect though was really good.
Yeah.
It's like you see his veins.
Yeah, you see veins first.
That was pretty awesome.
And then it starts to bleed open. It starts to press open, then it just completely cuts out. And then
it's like someone is pushing the it looks like they're being pushed from the back almost. Like they're being pushed out, which was
because this stretches as it does it.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah. Derek, what are your thoughts on this scene?
I have two trains of thought on this. The first one was it's so iconic. Like watching it 25 years ago. Anyway, watching it when I was a kid, that was one of the scenes that stuck out to me. I knew that was going to happen in this movie just because it was so jarring as a child watching this. And the effect was really great. Now, when you go and you analyze it, the bites he took, there's no way he eats a razor blade because he's like taking like little tiny bites.
Yeah.
You know, there's that aspect of it, but it was great. I loved the side story of this old man and
Yeah.
his curmudgeon death. It was great.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I love this ending. It again, it's a side story. It really has nothing to do with our main story at all. But what a great way to leave the audience with this big, instead of leaving it with the stinger, which is what you would think they would do.
Yeah.
They would have like Angela hanging out in the background, or like
one more scare.
What happens? So instead, their last showpieces are like, we'll leave the audience with this crazy fucking special effect and this fun little bit. That way, they go home happy, and they did. I mean, that's how it ends, and that was Night of the Demons. So, Lydia, this was your first time watching this movie. What did you think?
What did I think?
And and we go
this
to your rating.
This one personally wasn't my favorite. I do think some of the points of the story were good. The writing, like the cinematography of it was pretty good. Like the camera angles were creative and looked really nice. The acting wasn't like amazing. I don't know. This one is not going to be high on my recommendation list.
Derek, seeing it for the first time in 20 years, what do you think?
So it was everything that I expected it to be, and going into it, have seen it, but not in quite a long time. There were definitely scenes that were, like I knew that they were going to happen just because they were implanted as memories really young, and I I broke this movie down into like three aspects. The acting was pretty subpar, in my opinion. They definitely could have gotten stronger actors. There were at least one or two that were kind of diamonds in the rough. Then the actual storyline itself, and then how much fun I had watching it. So, are we ready to do our ratings, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So in that line of thought, so the acting, I thought it was pretty poor in general. I'm going to give it a 3. I think the best actors in this movie were probably the two old people. The guy who died, who's just old man, and then his wife. The storyline, I liked the storyline a lot. I liked how they fleshed out the mythology to set up the story. There were a couple of points where maybe it drug on a little bit, but it was a fast-moving hour and a half. So I gave that part a 7, and then I had a lot of fun watching it, and that might have been some nostalgia creeping in there. So I gave, as far as fun factor, was an 8. So my overall score for the movie is a 6, because the acting, it just could have been better. It could have made this movie a classic movie instead of a, hey, this movie, I watched it when I was a kid and it was a lot of fun.
So Lydia, what is your rating for Night of the Demons?
I'm going to give Night of the Demons a 4. The thing I liked most about it was the one-liners that kept coming up. Like, some of the lines in this were just really fun. But still, if somebody asked me, like, oh, I'm trying to get into horror movies, like, I want to watch something, I would probably not recommend this one. Like, at least, right off the bat, like, you got to go down the list a lot for me.
So, I really like this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the atmosphere of it. I think the shots are great. I think it's the cinematography, and it's really well done. Way better than it needed to be.
100%.
Like
100%.
That's one of the things that really kind of blew me away. Was I was like, as I was watching it this time, I was like, wow, there's a lot of really creative camera angles and really creative shots and really creative setups The story I like. I think it's very fine. I think it's the mythology is a little messy, but it's also kind of concise at the same time. So we don't get too many details, but what we do get is told very concisely, and I think actually very naturally. The worst part of the movie is definitely the acting. The acting is not good, pretty much across the board. It's pretty subpar, but the writing is decent. It's fine. There's some really funny one-liners.
Sorry, it's almost like the story was better than the characters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that might be what's not doing it for me, is that I really like strong character development.
Yeah, the characters just aren't very good, just across the board. Judy is fine, but she's kind of bland as a heroine.
Mm-hmm.
Stooge is really funny because he's an asshole. And I love Leanna Quigley always. But yeah, it's just kind of like the characters are just kind of meh. Everybody's just kind of meh. I mean, Sal's actually one of the most interesting characters because he has like he and Judy actually have arcs, and Roger kind of has an arc, but everybody else doesn't have anything, which is fine. I mean, only your main characters truly need arcs, I guess. But there's nothing to really gravitate onto. But having said all that, I think that the music's decent. I think that the atmosphere is good. I think it's a fun Halloweenish little spook movie. So I give Night of the Demons a 6 as well. I don't think it's quite strong enough to give it a 7. And I don't think it's bad enough to give it anything lower than a 6. So I think it's still a really fun watch. I had a blast watching it, and I'll probably watch it again next year.
I think you hit the nail on the head. This movie is better than it should have been. For every reason that you mentioned. They definitely who did the cinematography for this?
I know it was directed by Kevin Tinney. I don't know who actually shot the movie. Give me a second, I'll find out.
So the writer was Joe Augustin.
Yep. And then it was shot by okay, I don't care about that.
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. While you're looking that up,
shot by David Lewis was the cinematographer.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
So on IMDb, there's a quote section.
Yeah.
And it says, "Stooge, eat a bowl of fuck."
That's another great one. Yeah. Go through a couple more Stooge lines. That's good stuff.
Oh my gosh, let's see. Eat a bowl of fuck. I'm here to party. Let's see. Nope, not that one. Oh, let's see. Franny. Oh, Max, I don't bend that way.
Oh, Max, the guy we've been calling Billy, his name's Max, by the way.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I think Billy is the brother, the little brother.
Oh, man.
Idiots! We've been calling him the wrong name the whole time. That's how little of an impact he made. We didn't even know his name.
That's how bad the character development was.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wait, here's a good one. And this is Angela talking to Judy. So, what's the matter, Judy? Don't you like your blind date? This is after he's been dead.
After he's got his eyes poked out. Yeah,
poked out.
That's 100% an 80s slasher villain line. That's like Freddy Krueger level.
Oh my God, dude, here's another.
Freddy, you know.
Here's another Stooge line, man. Him and that bitch word, I tell you. So I think this is where he's talking to Suzanne. He says, "Damn it, bitch! Come on. What'd you do? Flush yourself down the fucking toilet or what?"
Yeah. He says during that scene also, when they're trying to find the bathroom, he's like, oh, we better find a bathroom soon or I'm going to water this hallway.
Whoa, bodacious boobies, sis.
Yeah.
You keep on going, and you'll have to hire someone just to tie your shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
You know what? I changed my mind. 10 out of 10 from all these lines. No, 6 out of 10.
Are you fat and dumb? That's Roger. Talking to probably Stooge.
I'm guessing to Stooge. Stooge is a fat pig. That's my favorite. That's which is true. So that was Night of the Demons. So I'm glad that we got to cover that one. So what's next week, Derek? I think I know what it is, but I need you to verify for me.
All right. Before we get off this, one more Stooge line.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't remember the context of why he says typical. Shut up and drive, bitch.
Oh, yeah. That's when he's talking to Helen.
What a terrible POS. Anyway. So next week is Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. That's what I thought. Yes. So speaking of old men, candy, and Halloween, we're going to get right into it with Michael Dougherty's great Trick or Treat, which
I've
is
seen that one too.
Yes, it's a great one. So that'll be a fun one to watch. So you can, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. So you might have to, maybe get it. It might be on Shudder, maybe. I don't know. I own it. That's all, because I watch it every Halloween. So next week, Trick or Treat. Find that. Anything else you guys want to add? No? Derek, you're muted. You're still muted.
Still muted.
Nope, I don't have anything to add.
That's the best.
He was like, I'm just done talking.
Well, I like how he muted himself. Then he tried to unmute himself and didn't, and he was like,
Dude, it's because I keep having to clear my throat, man. I gotta figure that out. But anyway, yeah, I didn't have anything to add.
Yeah, so I mean, you can cut that, I guess. You're editing this, so whatever you want to do. But anyway, next week, Trick or Treat. So tune in for that. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment on any of the episodes. If you have any suggestions, feel free to send them to us and comment as well. And that's about it for this week. So for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Scream bloody movies. Good night, folks.